We're going to chapter 33, supply side policies and government controls. For supply side policy, it is used to increase or to control aggregate supply. When we talked about monetary policy, we use it to control aggregate demand. When we talked about redistribution of income, it's about aggregate demand. But here, for supply side policies, it's strictly on aggregate supply. So we go down and see. What are supply side policies? Supply side policies are used to help increase aggregate supply in the economy. Aggregate supply is the total amount of goods and services produced in the country at a given price level in a given period of time. Supply side policies tend to be business friendly and aim to increase economic growth. They can be targeted at the whole economy or at those parts where an obstacle exists that prevent economic growth. In many countries, supply side policies are aimed to. So before we go to the aims of supply side policy, so supply side policy is a policy that is friendly with economic growth, that wants to encourage economic growth. And when you talk about economic growth, you're increasing output. And for output to increase, we need the supply side of the economy, which means firms, producers. So supply side policy is used to encourage increasing output, which will bring about economic growth. So what are the aims of supply side policy? One, improve flexibility in labor markets by removing restrictions. So the first thing supply side policy wants to do is to increase the flexibility in the labor market. When we talk about labor market, we're talking about where demand for and the supply of labor is being exchanged. That means workers. So they want to increase the flexibility of workers. They want to increase the flexibility between employers and employees. That means employment flexibility. Because if there's employment flexibility, there won't be restrictions. So when they need workers, they're able to get. Workers are not, they are able to get workers because workers are employable. So what will bring about employable workers is what they are talking about here. So with supply side policy, the workforce become more employable. And if the workforce becomes more employable, it becomes easier for firms, for employers to be able to employ. That is the first point. Clear. 2, restore the incentive to work by lowering taxes on work and enterprise. So they want to encourage people to work. And to do that, it means they have to reduce or cut income taxes. They also want to encourage firms to employ more workers by reducing corporation taxes on profit. Because if taxes on profit are cut, then there will be more profit made by firms. They will be encouraged to increase or to expand their output or enterprise. That's the second point. The third one, promote competition through privatization, deregulation, and helping small firms. I'm going to take one at a time. To promote competition through privatization, most of the time, the strategic businesses like electricity, water supply, let's take electricity and water supply. These are strategic things in an economy, mostly done by government. But government is, sometimes government is linked to inefficiency. If government is linked to inefficiency, it means government might not be able to supply these things government might not be able to meet increasing demand within the economy for these things due to their inefficiency. So government might pull it out, might privatize it so that the private sector will be able to do it. And that will take away, or government might give it out as contracts to the private sector to increase the output. That is what privatization is talking about here. So it's not going to be only government doing it. Government might still continue to do it, but give opportunity to private firms, private sectors that are interested in these things. So that breaks monopoly of government. Oh, the government of Libya is the only one in charge of electricity, right? That's the present situation. So maybe electricity is not improving. For example, I'm not saying it's not improving now. It's improving anyway. But if it's not improving, the government of the country, the government of Libya might encourage more firms to come into the industry. That breaks the monopoly of the government of Libya in terms of electricity. That is encouraging competition through privatization.
Yeah.
Do you get it?
I get
One. Deregulation. Government will reduce regulations, laws, soften laws, so that it becomes interesting for firms to come into that industry. So laws that are preventing others from coming into that industry, government might reduce it.
Yeah.
The third one, helping small firms. Government might subsidize for small firms.
Yeah.
Government might help them financially. Government might give them land to make things become easier for them, to encourage them to set it. The third one, the fourth one, increase investment by improving the flow of capital in capital markets. When we talk about the capital market, we're talking about stock exchange, we're talking about stock exchange here, money flow, people investment. So how can this happen? It is when the supply side is being encouraged. Government might come up with subsidies again, government might come up with low interest rates, government might come up with whatever they can come up with, so that the producers find it easy for them to invest in goods, to invest in capital goods, like to buy equipment. The government wants to make it easy for them to invest in what enterprise, and to invest in whatever that would increase output in the economy. So this is what the supply side policy is all about. To encourage, to bring flexibility to employment, making employees to be more employable, increase taxes, both income and corporate tax. For income, to encourage more people to work so that output can increase. For firms, to reduce their taxes on profit so that they can be encouraged to increase or expand their business. Through privatization, so that more firms can come into the industry, breaking the monopoly of government, to reduce softening laws that discourages enterprise, and to encourage small firms by subsidy. I think the point is clear. So what are the impacts of supply side policies on productivity and total output? With supply side policy wants to encourage economic growth. And for the economy to grow, output has to increase. So for output to increase, there should be productivity. So that is the impact now. So we go to productivity. They said supply side policies generally improve the productivity of production factors like land, labor, capital, and enterprise. This means that resources are used more effectively and the productive potential of the economy can be increased. That means with supply side policy, which are these aims that we've mentioned, it will increase the PPC of the economy. That means we should be witnessing an outward shift in our PPC curve. That is the point they are making here. So a number of supply side policies have attempted to increase labor productivity using the following approaches. So how is labor productivity encouraged or increased or improved through supply side policies? Number one, improving flexibility. In the past, many believed that labor markets were too inflexible. For example, trade unions were often criticized for forcing up wages and resisting the introduction of new working practices and new technology. This prevented labor productivity from improving. To deal with the problem in the UK, in the 80s, the government introduced a range of anti-trade union legislation to weaken unions and help labor markets work more freely. For example, closed shops and secondary picketing, we talked about them before. Why? We are made illegal. As a result of these measures and many others, there was less disruption when new working practices and new technology were introduced. There were also fewer strikes relating to wages. So, improving flexibility. So, labor, the trade union are one of the reasons why there's always disruption, stop in labor productivity. So, government has come up with a policy, government has come up with laws that would reduce their power. As a result, there is more flexibility with workers and their employers. That is the first point there. Two, training and education. For training and education will make the workforce to be more employable because it improves their skills, their knowledge. So let's say, if people receive more education and training, the quality of the workforce will improve. This will help improve labor productivity and increase aggregate supply. This is discussed in more details below. So some supply side policies are designed to promote more competition. So before we go into that, I explain what training and education will do. Training and education would increase labor productivity because labor become more flexible. They know more. So their knowledge has improved. Their skills are improved. So that means they will be able to do more than what they used to do. Labor productivity will increase. Some supply side policies are designed to promote more competition. If a government can make markets more competitive, there will be pressure on firms to be more cost effective and innovative. This will help to raise productivity. Privatization and deregulation can play a role in this thing. So supply side policy can also be done through privatization and deregulation. With privatization, more businesses are setting in. This increases competition. And when competition is increasing, firms would not have any other choice than to find a way to be effective and efficient by reducing their cost. Because more firms coming in will reduce the prices of goods in that industry. So for you to be able to sell at a lower price, it means you should be able to reduce your cost. So firms will think about innovative ways of increasing their output and reducing their cost, so that they can also sell at a reduced price, not to lose their customers. And finally, productivity can be increased with more investment. If businesses purchase new technology and update their production facilities, efficiency would also improve. Another way to increase productivity is through investment in capital goods, such as technology, because technology will make things to become better and faster. And if things become better and faster, efficiency will improve. I think the point is clear.
Yes.
So that is supply side on productivity. Then we go to total output. For total output, it says supply side policies aim to increase the productive potential of the economy. With increased volume of output, national income will rise and living standards will be improved. Also, if the government can increase supply standards, there's less chance of demand pull inflation and more jobs will be created. Therefore, unemployment will be lower. So for total output, we're talking about the PPC, what the country is producing, the productive potential of the economy. If government can come up with supply side policies that aims at increasing the productive potential of the economy, output will increase. And if output is increasing, the living standard will improve. People will have more money with them. The national income, the total output in the economy would improve. So that means I can have access to whatever, I can buy whatever I need to buy. That means I won't be deprived of things that I won't be held back in things that would make my life to be better. So that is when the living standard will improve. You have more access to things that will make your life to be better. That is what total output is talking about there. Then they said the PPC can be used to show the impact of supply side policy on total output. So if this PPC is shifting outward from PPC 1 to PPC 2, it means that the supply side policy has really improved to increase the output. That is the point they are making here. Is it clear?
It's clear.
Okay, we'll move down. Impact of supply side policies on macroeconomic objectives. So we still go back to macroeconomic objectives, unemployment, inflation rates, economic growth, balance of payment current accounts. So we check. Most governments use supply side policies to increase economic growth. A wide range of supply side measures is available and they can have a variety of effects on the economy. Some examples of the policies used by governments and the impacts they might have are outlined below. The first one is privatization. What is privatization itself? Privatization is the transfer of government-owned property, government-owned businesses, government-owned assets to the hands of the private sector.
That's like the actual form from the government, like from public to private.
So private, that's what privatization is about. So with privatization, they said privatization breaks up state monopolies and promotes competition, because once they are part of the private sector, businesses have to make profit to survive. They cannot rely on public money or fund. If they make a loss in the private sector, if they fail to provide services that give customer value for money, they may go out of business. Competitive pressure should improve quality and reduce prices. With privatization, government monopoly has broken. More businesses will set up because it has been privatized. So it means all businesses have access to that industry. So having access to that industry means that output will increase, competition will increase. So with competitive pressure, like, oh, I have to take the market, I have to take charge of the market, you have to take charge of the market, it has to take charge of the market. These things would bring about quality improvements and reduction in prices. Competition reduces prices, increases quality. So when there's competition in the markets through privatization, businesses want to gain a lot of customers. To do this, they have to reduce their prices and they have to come up with quality products
Yeah.
So quality would improve, prices would fall.
Yeah.
That is supply side policy. Also, some services that were once provided by the public sector, the next paragraph now, have been contracted out. When we say it's been contracted out, it means it's been given out to private sector.
Oh, so they can just
Contracted out is, oh, this thing is being done by, it's being managed or done by the government. But now, private sector can be part of it. That is contract. Is it clear?
Yeah.
So, for example, private sector firms in some countries have been invited to bid for contracts. You see, they have been invited to bid for contracts that was once done by the government.
Yeah, okay.
That is what they are saying here. So, okay. So one of the problems, I mean, the last paragraph now, one of the problems with privatization is that state monopolies often become private monopolies. As a result, consumers might be exploited. This has led to price increases and poor quality service in some countries, particularly in industries like water supply and energy distribution. Privatization is good because it increases competition. It increases competition. And when competition is increased, the pressure of competition will improve quality and reduce price. But most of the time, privatization will bring about also monopoly, because government might give it out to just one private sphere. And if it is being given out to one private firm, that is monopoly, private monopoly.
Yeah.
Private monopoly will bring about increasing prices, poor quality. How is it poor quality? Because they know they are the only ones supplying. There's no pressure, there's no competitive pressure on them.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't care. So which is another problem about privatization, especially if it is private monopoly. Clear?
Good.
The next one, deregulation. Regulation, often called red tape, involves government controls on the market. So government will soften their policies, government will soften their laws. They make it more friendly.
Yeah.
That is the point they're making here.
Yeah.
So deregulation in business generally means tackling problems such as excessive paperwork, that is bureaucracy. A lot of paperwork before we can get permission to do this. Oh, we have to go to that ministry, we have to go to that office, those offices, and takes time and money. And so I don't want to do this, I stop. I don't want to be part of that industry. Excessive paperwork would reduce. Obtaining unnecessary license. Just give them what is needed and stop giving them different licenses before they can operate. Having lots of people or committees to approve a decision. These are what the regulation will come. So delay them, stop having a lot of directors in the public sectors before a small business or a private sector business will be able to establish. Don't waste their time. When you waste their time, they lost interest. And as a result of that, output reduces. Various trivial rules that slow down business development. Reduce these laws, rules. This thing will not make them to thrive. It will discourage them. So this is what the regulation is about. I think it's clear. So with this, it becomes more friendly. Businesses, entrepreneurs will be willing to establish. They'll be encouraged to do more because they don't have to go through the ulabalos of getting papers signed by the government. Education and training is another supply side policy. If the quality of human capital can be improved, workers will be more productive. Investment by government, workers will be more productive. Human capital, we're talking about what the value, the added value, what you can put on the table, what you can prove. How can you improve the practice, the working practice in this company? That's what human capital is about. And human capital can only be improved with more training and education because it involves your knowledge and your skills. So if your knowledge and skills are improved, your productivity as an individual will improve. That is what they're talking about here. Is it clear? So how can this be done in the country? Government investing in education. So let's read. Investment by government and firms in education and training will help to improve the quality of human capital. So government has a work to do. The firms also have to do. So the involvement of government and firms in training and education would improve human capital. Clearly, if people are educated and are able to develop a range of skills, such as literacy, numeracy, communication, analysis, problem solving, evaluation, critical thinking, and language, they are more employable. So it's about being employable. Because it will not employ people that are not going to add value. So to add value means you have improved your human capital. So for human capital to improve, government have to invest in the quality of education, in terms of literacy, in terms of numeracy, communication, language. All these things have to improve. And that means spending more on education and training. Government can help. So they said improving the skills of nation's workforce is a key element of supply side policies. Governments can help by investing more in schools, universities, and colleges. They can also improve firms with incentives to invest in training. They could offset training costs against tax, for example, perhaps by meeting some of the training costs. So the first paragraph is talking about investment in education and training. The private sector, they see investment in training as too expensive. They don't want to. One of the reasons why they don't have interest in training of their workers is that as soon as these workers are being trained, they become interesting. Other firms their competitors start having interest on them. Then they will lose them. So how will my company train you? And you just have to leave like that to my rivals, to my competitors. So they see it as a lose-lose thing for them. So they are discouraged. But government can encourage them. How can government encourage them? Government can encourage them by reducing their taxes. So firms that can give us details of their trained employees would have cut in taxes for this year. So when government cuts taxes for firms that train their workers, this could encourage them. So it won't be a lose-lose thing, to be a win thing too. So at the end of it, they might be leaving your workplace, but government has compensated you by cutting taxes that you have to pay. So that is what they are saying here. That's the first way in which government can encourage training in the private sector. Another way is by offsetting their training costs. So come with your bills, your training invoices. Let's see, and we pay 30% of it. You've trained 100 workers this year, and the total cost is maybe 100,000. The government of this country will give you 30% of that, 40% of that. So these things will encourage firms to still train the workers, because if they are trained, they are not just going to be useful to your firm, they'll be useful to the economy as a whole. Do you get the point here? So if government can do this, it will encourage firms to still train their employees, not really thinking about them leaving the company when they have been trained. Clear? Unfortunately, the last paragraph there. Unfortunately, investment in education is very expensive, and the returns on the investment are not seen for many years. Consequently, funds for education in many countries are often inadequate. In many developing countries, for example, state school is not free. The students or their families meet the cost for books, uniform, and teachers. Globally, more than 226 million children do not attend secondary school. So it is education increases the flexibility of the workforce. Unfortunately, secondary education is not even accessible. You have to pay for it. And if secondary education is not accessible, how do you even get to the tertiary education? So that is the point they are making here. So as a result of this, human capital is in decline. Clear? We go down. Policies to boost regions with high unemployment. One of the advantages of supply side policies is that they can be targeted or used selectively. In some countries, it is likely that certain regions will have far higher unemployment than others. For example, the unemployment rate in Spain was this. However, in Spain, in some regions, it was considerably higher.
Andalusia.
Yeah.
Andalusia.
Yeah, I see. Andalusia, I see. I just want to summarize it. So I want to get the point they're making. I have to read it through. Okay, considerably higher. Andalusia had the worst rate at 34.8%, followed by the Canary Island, the North African Spanish territory of Ceuta, I think, and Castilla-La Mancha. The Spanish government recognized these regional imbalances and introduced policies designed to reform labor markets. This helped to control wages and make it easier for firms to hire and fire people. Spain also attracted EU funding for job creation projects in some of the worst hit regions. For example, a specialist technology park was built in Andalusia, which focused on the needs for aeronautic and aerospace industries. The EU funding allocated to this project helped to create jobs, particularly in some businesses, in small businesses. So the point I'm making is, with supply side policy, which helps supply side policy, one of the aims of supply side policy is to increase employment opportunity, right? Yeah. So with supply side policy, some regions, there are imbalances in unemployment. That means some regions have unemployment more than other regions. Yeah. So with supply side policy, government will be able to invest in those regions that are lacking, that have more unemployment opportunity than others. Yeah. So what do they invest on? They find out what is needed in that environment. They create, they make a business out of those things that are needed, so that those things that are needed will be able to employ workers. That is the point they are making here. Yeah. They come up with policies, supply side policies, maybe investments or privatization in such area to encourage production in that area. And as soon as there's production in that area, it means people would be employed in such area. That is what they are saying here. So government will look out for areas that have high unemployment rate. Yeah. They find out what can be produced, like this aeronautic and these stuffs they produce there. So they find out what goods that can be produced or what services that can be needed in such area. They create it. With that creation, employment opportunity would come up. People can be employed in that area. I think it's clear. Infrastructure spending. The productive potential of the economy will increase if the quality of the infrastructure is improved. The government can help by investing more in infrastructure, education, and healthcare, for example. Investment in infrastructure will improve transport and communication systems. This will help private sector firms because people will be more geographically mobile and the distribution of goods will be easier. Investment in education and healthcare will improve the quality of human capital. This will also help private sector firms because workers will be better educated and healthier. So the infrastructure is about electricity, good road, communication, healthcare, and education. Yeah. So if these things are accessible, it means businesses will not find difficulty moving goods, businesses around. Yeah. People will not find difficulty moving from one region to another. They will be geographically mobile. So some areas, there's no electricity, there's no good communication system. Yeah. This discourages people to go into that area. This discourages firms to set up in that area. So if these things are accessible, then the productive potential of the economy would increase. That's the point they are making here. Is it clear? So the next paragraph is about India developing or investing heavily on infrastructure, which is resulted into more output for them. That's the second paragraph. So I'm not going to talk about that. And the last paragraph, they said, one important infrastructure development is the provision of superfast broadband networks. Basically, communication brings accessibility to the world. Electricity means if our manufacturing companies can rely on your electricity, then they can come up and set up. So they need heavy equipment. So they need electricity to carry on with this heavy equipment. So if there's electricity, industrialization would be encouraged. So with infrastructure, a non-developed economy will become developed. Do you get the point here? So supply side policy, one of the supply side policy is to invest in infrastructure. And when you are able to invest in infrastructure, you become developed. You become industrialized. There, you can produce more goods and services, which India is doing, China is doing. I think the point is clear. Yes. The next one, lower business taxes to stimulate investments. So government should, another supply side policy is to reduce taxes. So when you are reducing taxes, It encourages investment. That is the point they're making here. So let's say the pace of economic growth in a country can be accelerated if businesses can be encouraged to invest more. Supply side measures can help with this. Investment in the private sector can be increased if firms are confident about the future and there are funds available for investment. The government can also play a role by maintaining a stable economy and helping to increase the flow of investment funds to firms. Example of measures that could be used include the following one. About 1.5% of all private sector investment is funded from profits. Therefore, by taxing profit less, more will be available for investment. So, the first thing is government should reduce taxes. If government reduces tax, because most of businesses, it is only when they are profitable, they want to increase or expand their operation. So for them to expand their operation, that means their profit must also increase. So if government is reducing taxes, profit will rise. As a result, more investment for firms. That's the first one. Firms can offset the cost of investment against tax. They can claim capital allowances when buying machines and equipment, for example. So firms want to invest in capital goods. So by so doing, they can claim tax reduction by telling government that, oh, government, look, we have invested so much in capital goods. Now we have more technology to increase our efficiency, to increase our output, so that the citizens can buy at a cheaper rate. Please reduce our taxes. That's the second point here. Clear. The third point, tax incentives have been used to encourage people to save more and buy shares in companies. In some countries, tax relief may be given to individuals who invest in new companies or IT companies. So income tax reducing. Government can reduce income taxes. To offset means to reduce the amount they are paying. Do you get it? Oh, we've spent 5,000 on this. How much is government going to help us with? So that it balances from our own side. That is what offset is about. Did you get it?
Yeah. Thank you.
So it reduces the amount we are spending. So we are going to spend it, yes, but we can claim it from government so that at least there's a relief on us. Is offset clear?
Yes.
Great. So for tax incentives, government can reduce income taxes. For those who are investing in businesses, oh, I've bought shares from government, I've bought shares from companies. As a result of that, my income tax would reduce. Because when you buy shares from companies, you are investing in companies. Investing in companies would keep jobs. People that are there will continue to work. Unemployment would fall. So you see, government is using supply side policy through taxes to increase employment opportunity. Do you get it? Because when you buy shares, more capital is available to businesses. They can invest more. There won't be job loss. That is the point they're making here. Is it clear? Another way through supply side policies is lower income taxes to encourage working. So government can also reduce income taxes. So when you reduce income taxes, this can encourage people to work. This becomes an incentive to find a job. Oh, I don't want to look for a job because at the end of it all, 50% of my income is going to government. I'm discouraged. But if it has been cut to 5%, oh, 5%, okay, yes, I'm willing to work now. So that is the point they're making there. So because when income tax increases, output would fall. People will not have an incentive to work. Let's read anyway. Some people argue that high taxes on income and profit will reduce output in the economy. This is because high taxes reduce the incentive to work and discourage people from setting up or developing businesses. They will be discouraged. How do I pay more taxes? And you want me to? No, I can't. So that is the point they are making. So government can reduce income taxes. So if that is done, people will be encouraged to work. Profit will also increase for firms. Clear? Now go to government controls. In addition to fiscal policy, monetary policy and supply side policy, in addition to fiscal policy, monetary policy and supply side policies, government can use other controls when managing the economy and trying to achieve its macroeconomic objectives. So what can government do? For example, it can pass new legislation, laws, to help protect the environment, impose fines on firms that exploit consumers and workers, and introduce controls as means of maintaining standard in business conduct. On the other hand, these controls have advantage because they reduce the exploitation of vulnerable groups or sectors. When we talk about vulnerable groups, we're talking about people that are disadvantaged,
Yeah.
like the minority group, disabled people, immigrants. So, however, they may impose costs on firms that might inhibit their growth and development. Such controls are so government can try, aside this monetary policy, fiscal policy, supply side policy, government can come up with laws, legislation, by fines, ban, to discourage work practices that are putting workers in, that are making workers to be vulnerable, that are making consumers to be vulnerable. So government can come up with laws to stop firms from doing these things. The advantage is that workers become better, consumers' living standards improve. But the problem is that firms that have to go with these practices, they might incur more cost. And incurring more cost might increase prices or might make them to start thinking about operating through the back. Is it clear?
Yes.
Any questions about that?
No.
Go to the questions now. Question 1, right? Which of the following is a supply side measure designed to help firms to increase investment?
Is it tax breaks?
Yes, tax break.
Because it encourages them to like.
It gives them the incentive to.
Borrow shares.
Yeah.
Is there a head?
Say it. I only hear. Say it, please.
It's like giving them a head start, like encouragement
to what?
Borrow shares.
To buy more. Wait, let's see. They said which of the following is a supply side policy measure designed to help firms to increase investment? Tax breaks for people who buy shares in businesses. So yes, that's the answer. So people who buy shares in businesses means what? That means it encourages them to buy more.
Yeah.
Yes. B. Question 2. Will improve occupational mobility. You know what occupational mobility is first? Occupational mobility is the ability you have, the ability for an individual to be able to switch from one job to another. I was a banker, now I'm a teacher. That is occupational mobility. So which one will So which one will bring up about occupational mobility?
Is it investments in government training schemes?
Yes.
Because it's like it helps them. Does it help it like make it easier for them to go from one job to another?
Yeah, because it helps them. Why? Because they have skills now. They have more skills. They have more knowledge.
Yeah.
So they can switch. They become flexible to switch from one job to another. Is it clear? So question 1 is B. Question 2 is A. And that ends today's lesson.
Supply side policies and government controls.